Well, good morning to each one gathered. As he said, I'm Andrew Young from Pearl of Grace, and greetings to you this morning in Jesus' name. It's a privilege I count it a privilege and honor to be here with you this morning. And it's a beautiful setting you have here. First time here, and I had not made all the connections. It was a pleasant surprise to come in and see some familiar faces. Especially Mike, and I think it was my memories of when I think of Mike, I just think of somebody that brings so much joy to and energy. You know, I think of I'm on the search and rescue team in Oklahoma, and I think of our initial training, and I don't know what that was 5-6 years ago. I don't remember. It's maybe in 2019, maybe 18 or 19, and we were doing our mock search, and we had been in training all week, and kind of climaxed to a mock search to see if we actually make connection and know what we're doing. And I remember it was just coming to the end, and it was freezing cold, and it was blowing, and just unpleasant. You know, we talked in Sunday school quite a bit about perspective and seeing the beauty, and I don't know. Mike was up by the trailer and just laughing about something, and it brought so much joy and so much. In the situation there, it always that's my memories of Mike. But yeah, it's a pleasure to be here and to get to share with you all this morning about the work there at the ranch. So I've been at the ranch a little over 2 years. I started just on facilities and maintenance there, and that has spread and grown, especially in the past 4 months or so. But I work mostly still taking care of the facilities and just in general operations work. I'm in the office some and out some, and so yeah, I get to work on a broad range of things there. And so we'll just dive into this. I'll try not to take too much time and give some time for questions, because I doubt I'll cover everything. But if y'all have questions, I'll try to give space for that and see what we can share here. So kind of our tagline that you'll see quite a bit is Pearl of Grace Ranch, where heartache meets healing, which takes time. But dealing with girls that, you know, the ranch is a very unique place in that it's very diverse. The girls that we try to serve, the girls that we're endeavoring to serve is from a very broad, it changes up depending on, you know, who's there. And so it can feel pretty heavy in one area or one group, and then 2 years later, that might switch up. And so if there is somebody that we can still honor and respect our core values and try to serve them, then we try to be open. And so it's place of healing, where heartache meets healing. Our vision, Pearl of Grace Ranch, is dedicated to offering hope and redemption to the broken lives of teen girls through the healing power of Christ. And just a few things there on the bottom, you know, some of the things that the girls are struggling with. And, you know, a lot of it's been eye-opening for me and interesting. You know, there's fundamental things that we learn that we develop in our homes from before birth. And I have not done near the research as some people. I've just dipped my toes in it, so to speak. But from the point of conception and after birth and just the connections of belonging and then if it's in an abusive situation that we see all too often in a broken home setting, maybe it's not directly in the home, but it's from outside the home, and things have come in, and breaking God-given barriers down, it makes an impact that affects these girls that, you know, a lot of times it comes out in their teen years. And so whether they many of them come just feeling worthless, feeling used, feeling abused, feeling, they've just, maybe they were mistreated, maybe it was when they were 2 or 3 years old, but that just instilled something in their brain and made connections in their brain. And so trying to work through those things and to learn to build relationship. If we don't have those proper relationships right at the beginning, then it seems like we don't know how to build those relationships later in life. You think of how do we learn to have I believe that God's plan for us to learn to have a relationship with Him is with the relationship with our earthly Father, right? In love and respect, but also requiring obedience and learning that balance and learning that those things. And so when some of those are missing, it makes a difference. It's made a difference in my personal life, and I can see it make a difference in others. It's our mission to model Christ's love, cultivate transformative relationships, and help teen girls build character to make responsible life choices. And I'll break down some of these: the daily discipleship, the equine-assisted learning, the Christian education, and individual counseling is some of the things that we are using to accomplish this mission. The whole thing about relationships, you'll see that quite a bit, because we have these girls for around 18 to 24 months, give or take some on either side of that. But really, it's a small window in their life and the things. And so if we can build them, help them to build relationships, and teach them how to be vulnerable, be open enough to be able to build a relationship, but then also to have proper boundaries in relationships and those things. And ultimately, what I want to bring out here is building a relationship with Christ. And I know this is lengthy. John chapter 10. I think I'll just take the time to read about the first 30 verses, 29, 30 verses of John chapter 10. This is a chapter, it's nothing new, right? Right here in the Gospel of John, not hidden, not buried in the Old Testament anywhere. I know we're all familiar with it. This portion of Scripture has just really stood out to me lately. And we're actually going through John back at home in our Bible study group, or like our Sunday school group. We came across this a couple weeks ago, and it's really stood out to me and what we are trying to offer these girls and what we're trying to instill in these girls so that they can take it on through life. So I'll just read these verses here in John chapter 10. Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that entereth not by the door into the sheepfold, but climbeth up some other way, the same is a thief and a robber. But he that entereth in by the door is the shepherd of the sheep. To him the porter openeth, and the sheep hear his voice. And he calleth his own sheep by name, and leadeth them out. And when he putteth forth his own sheep, he goeth before them, and the sheep follow him, for they know his voice. And a stranger will they not follow, but will flee from him, for they know not the voice of strangers. This parable spake Jesus unto them, but they understood not what things they were which he spake unto them. Then said Jesus unto them again, Verily, verily, I say unto you, I am the door of the sheep. All that ever came before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not hear them. I am the door. By me, if any man enter in, he shall be saved, and shall go in and out and find pasture. The thief cometh not, but for to steal and to kill and to destroy. I am come that they might have life, and that they might have it more abundantly. I am the good shepherd, and the good shepherd giveth his life for the sheep. But he that is an hireling, and not the shepherd, whose own the sheep are not, seeth the wolf coming, and leaveth the sheep, and fleeth. And the wolf catcheth them, and scattereth the sheep. The hireling fleeth, because he is an hireling, and careth not for the sheep. I am the good shepherd, and know my sheep, and am known of mine. As the Father knoweth me, even so know I the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. And other sheep I have, which are not of this fold, them also I must bring, and they shall hear my voice, and there shall be one fold and one shepherd. Therefore doth my Father love me, because I lay down my life, and I might take it again. No man taketh it from me, but I lay it down of myself. I have power to lay it down, and I have power to take it again. This commandment have I received of my Father. There was a division, therefore, again among the Jews for these sayings. And many of them said, He hath a devil, and is mad. Why hear ye him? Others said, These are not the words of him that hath the devil. Can a devil open the eyes of the blind? And it was at Jerusalem the feast of the dedication, and it was winter. And Jesus walked in the temple in Solomon's porch. Then came the Jews round about him, and said unto him, How long dost thou make us to doubt? If thou be the Christ, tell us plainly. Jesus answered them, I told you, and ye believe not. The works that I do in my Father's name, they bear witness of me. But ye believe not, because ye are not of my sheep. As I said unto you, my sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. And I give them eternal life, and they shall never perish, neither shall any man pluck them out of my hand. My Father which gave me is greater than all, and no man is able to pluck them out of my Father's hand. I and my Father are one. And when I read that, that just kind of stirs my heart up to, you picture a restful relationship, talking about protection, talking about leading, leading beside still waters where there's plenty, and where it's just a beautiful, beautiful relationship. And then just this climax here in verse 30, I and my Father are one. That is what our mission is, to exemplify to these girls that we have the privilege of serving, and to, if we can bring them into this relationship with the Father, they'll be able to go out and face anything. They'll be able to go out back to their Amish communities and work through things with their families. They'll be able to go back to maybe a family that doesn't normally attend church. They'll be able to go back to their Mennonite, whatever circle they're out of, and to be able to work through those things and to gain traction, and if they have this foundation. And so, of course, it's a residential home. It's home. We try to build an atmosphere there. So it's home life, and so there's a lot of things involved with that. But this is the core, and I just wanted to bring this out to you and to encourage you. Pursue this relationship. I and my Father are one. What a beautiful, that's not that we're on the same level of God, but that we have that relationship to where our heart is His heart. His desires are our desires. And just in I think of, you mentioned a group coming here and singing, and you bring all these different people. They all know how to sing, but bring them together, give them time to spend together and to become as one voice. And, that takes time. Whether it's, you put a new fellow on your construction crew, it takes time to get synced with the construction team, and to, when the fellow beside you needs something, or to be in the right place at the right time, and to be in sync. That's the picture I get here, and just a beautiful relationship that I've been blessed with. So some core values of the ranch: keeping a kingdom of God focus. That is our number one desire. And it's interesting to consider some things, as we are a diverse group. We serve a diverse group of girls, but keeping that kingdom of God focus and in priority. Listening prayer. Again, having that back and forth relationship of times of crying out to God, but then times of listening for His voice. And we are able to serve families that are not accustomed to prayer, even some out of what you would think of, even out of some Amish circles, that only prayer on maybe in their gatherings Sunday morning, and the rest of the time it's a silent prayer. And so then the teens come in and just not much experience with prayer through that. And so the prayer is a big thing to us. We spend time each week as a staff group with the girls in prayer, and then as a staff um, in sharing prayer requests and praying with one another. Building, as I mentioned before, you'll see it quite a bit throughout. The more familiar you are with the program, the more you'll see how much we try to build and build relationships. Build relationships that are authentic and that where each person has their voice and is able to push back and forth and that we can be our true selves in communication and teaching the girls to build those types of relationships. Faith. Without faith, the ranch would not be, the ranch probably just would not be. I was going to say it would not be what it is today, but it probably would not be at all. And so different ones, even now to all the way up until the beginning, I believe it was in 2016. It hasn't been all that long that the ranch started. So it takes a lot of faith. When you're sitting with and trying to help a young lady, I watch the mentors do it. I watch the house team leads do it. All the way through, and even just knowing how to help her, and knowing how to work through when you're in between a rock and a hard place, and don't know how to get through, and don't know how to, faith to reach out to God and to know that He is there. Obedience, and equipping staff, just some other core values that we try to keep in focus and at the core of the program. So one of those in the list before, daily discipleship. And that verse in Deuteronomy chapter 6, 4 through 7 there, I think quite often you'll hear about that. That verse will come out in child training. But just instilling, instilling the law and instilling Christ in the young one's hearts from, as just along the way throughout life. Whether you're working or whether you're traveling, just using life and it being a process. And so there's Tony Salmon's older couple there, Tony and Jeannie. They're kind of known as the grandparents of the girls, so to speak. That's how he would introduce himself. He would say they're the parents to the staff and the grandparents to the girls. But he takes time every morning, devotions with the girls, and teaching the girl, having devotions as a group, and then also having devotions, one-on-one. Processing problem circles are times of discipleship, and so if there's something that just needs talked about, just needs worked through in one of the groups of girls, there's kind of a term, circling up. At the ranch. And so if there's something that needs to work through or something we need to talk about, it'd be like, oh, do we need to circle up? It's kind of a joke among staff, but it's something that the girls live out. That's how they process things and work through things. And so, or a problem circle. If one of the girls gets to the point where they're not able to continue through whatever activity they're in respectfully and in a good space, then they will leave school, they will leave church, they will leave wherever and go circle up and have a problem circle, and it gives space to, and the goal is there so that maybe a girl that's been there 12 months or 14 months can actually start discipling and start helping the girl that's been there 3 months or 2 months and just hitting the heart. And so giving them that space with the mentors are part of that circle, but also allowing the rest of the group to help disciple each other. We give them space in journaling. That's and going over the journaling with just a space for them just to dump their heart, so to speak, and then kind of disciple and help them work through those things. And one-on-one time, they have, and feel free to, if I'm talking about stuff that doesn't make sense, feel free to stop me and ask a question. But our groups are like 8 girls and then 2 mentors to each group is a group. And so outside of that, they also get some one-on-one time with some of the staff girls. Will take one of the resident girls and just have an hour of just, some discipleship, some mentoring outside of their everyday mentor. The mentors are like a mom to the group, living life, doing life with them. And so just giving them that person, a little bit outside of the daily grind to share with. And so Christian education, the girls are in school Monday through Friday, half a day, about 8:30 to 12:35, and then they do that year round. They don't take the summer off because they'll get into some trips. That throughout the year they will go on trips, and so they don't really take a break during the summer to give space for trips throughout the year. This is Amanda Elwell. She actually came out of a public school setting. She was trained in a licensed teacher, and she's been at the ranch from the beginning, and she's kind of the head teacher in charge of the school. And if this plays, I'm not sure if we have sound. We may not have sound.
I have been here for 7 years and got to do a lot of different things, wear a lot of different hats since I've been here. But my heart has always been to be back in the school and to love our girls and teach our girls. So I want to tell you a little bit about what I love so much about our school here at Pearl of Grace. We take the approach that every one of our girls is uniquely gifted and created by their Heavenly Father. And so each one of them has strengths and has weaknesses, and our goal in school is to partner with the things that God has uniquely gifted in them. For some of our girls, they're gifted, amazing writers, and they can write stories and poems and essays that would just draw you in. And so we partner with that, and we try to foster that love of writing. For some of our girls, they are math whizzes, and they can just grasp these complex concepts, which amazes me because I was not a math genius growing up. And so watching them partner with the content and learn and grow. And for some of our girls, it's not any academic topic is their place to shine, but maybe they're a gifted artist or have a beautiful voice that they can use. We work hard to partner with whatever it is that God has created in them, the things that they're passionate about, and to support them in the places where they have weaknesses and to help shore up those areas as well. And it has been my delight over the years to watch our girls be able to come in and partner with the areas that they didn't ever think that they could master. And so for some of our girls, school has been really hard. They've had a lot of disruptions. For most of our girls, they've had a lot of disruptions in their education. And school has not been a place that they felt confident or believed in. And so they come in with, some attitudes about what school will look like. And so it's so much fun to watch them go from hating school to loving it and wanting to be here and recognizing that they actually do have some gifts and some talents. And so, yeah, that is my favorite thing, is watching that light come on in their eyes and for them to actually look forward to being in school. We lean heavily into relationship in school. School is our probably highest level of functioning here at the ranch in our day-to-day lives, and so they have to be ready to be in school. But the cool thing is that they can leave school to get what they need, but then they come back and we're so ready to have them back. We're excited. We want them to be in our schoolroom and to be with us. And so that has been such a joy to partner with these girls, to partner with our staff in investing in their lives. One of my favorite stories is about a girl named Carrie. Carrie came to us at 17, and she could not read fluently. She couldn't do basic math, multiplication, division, subtraction, addition. It was a challenge for her. She had a dysgraphia and a dyslexia diagnosis before she came to us, and so she really came in believing that she was not good at school and there was never going to be anything in school that she could be accomplished in. She would tell me stories of being a little girl and sitting with her hand raised in the back of the classroom and sitting, and no one would come to help her. And she really became deeply convinced that she was stupid. and that she was incompetent, and that she really never could learn. And my favorite thing with Carrie is that she wanted it to be different, but she really did not believe that it could be. And so we started to work. We began to work on the basics, telling time, counting money, simple addition facts. And then just teaching her, we used the program that we had access to help work on her reading skills. And slowly but surely, Carrie began to learn. And she began to gain confidence and a sense of accomplishment. And my I think, favorite moment, probably one of my favorite moments teaching, is when we were preparing for student-teacher conferences with her parents for a parent seminar. And we were sitting down and we're going over our list of the things that we're going to cover. And Carrie gets this look, and I was like, Miss Elwell, I want to take something to show my parents. And I was like, okay, you can do that. And she says, no, but I want to take my money. And I had gotten her some paper money and some plastic coins, and we would practice where I would give her a total and she would need to give me back the right amount of change so that she could purchase whatever thing we were pretending to purchase. And this was a skill that she genuinely could not do before she came to the ranch. She would just get the biggest bill she could find and hand it to the cashier and hope that it was enough. But she had learned how to count money. And so I'm sitting there in the conference with her and her parents, and she's looking at her parents. Dad, Mom, I can't wait to show you. Look, Dad, give me a number. And so her dad would give her a total, and she would count it out to him. And then she said, okay, now you give me a total and I'm going to give you enough, and then I'm going to count my own change back. And so he would give her a total and she would give him what it was. And then she said, okay, now you need to give me this much back. And she was so proud of herself. And it's not so much about the fact that she could count money. It matters, it's a great life skill, but what was so amazing was she shifted that identity piece. She stopped believing that she was incapable and incompetent. And she's doing phenomenal now. She's working with a volunteer fire service and working on EMS stuff, and doing really, really well. And it's that identity shift. It's realizing that God actually created me good. And that he created me with skills and with things to offer. And yeah, you cannot replace that. That is such a beautiful experience and a thing to get to be a part of. And there's so many other stories that I could share. But I did just want to kind of give you a glimpse into what we do. We believe.
So that kind of gives you a story a little bit. That's one thing, me sharing. I don't actually work with the girls each day. If some of our mentors were here or house team leads were here, they would be loaded with stories that I know are valuable stories. But she's just school teacher through and through, and she just thrives off of being able to teach the girls, from wherever they're at. They come in all different levels. Being 17, not being able to count change or really do basic math, to, like she said, being able to be a math whiz. And so they take, when they come in, they take kind of a placement test in school on their on-site visit, and then she plugs them in. This is just a glimpse into their classroom here, and this is some art projects that they did. They used a projector and then just kind of traced it or painted it on the eagle. This is kind of in their, what we call the rec room, where they'll do like PE exercises and just different exercises there. And some art class. They have art class 2 or 3 times a week. Their afternoon schedule varies from day to day, but they will have music class and art class probably twice a week on different days. And so gives you a bit of a glimpse into the school. Another big part of the program is the equine assisted learning, and just is kind of where, we call it a ranch because it's a horse ranch setting. And so using there's 9 or 10 horses there right now, I believe. And the girls have an hour a week individual sessions, and then they also have group sessions where they do group activities with the horses and with the equine staff, and just giving them space for building trust, communication, self-confidence, working through emotional things, again, building the relationships, and a safe place to process. It's amazing the things that will come out. You can have a girl come in, you have no idea, you get a glimpse, but they come in a closed book. They come in if you know anything about pearls, and that there's a reason it's called Pearl of Grace Ranch, but they come in clamped up pretty tight. And so equine, working with the horses, is an area that we've really found to be positive in building these things, and then also just creating a space for them to start to open up and to share. Some think, it's a horse ranch, you just jump on and ride, and they do some riding, but it's a lot of relational work, and it was kind of a new idea to me, to be honest with you. When I started the ranch, I knew people that, you hear dogs a best man's friend or whatever, and things like that, and you hear, people building relationship with dogs, or even like a seeing eye dog, or and where that's what's happening with the horses, and even bringing in different attitudes out. If a girl goes into a round pen with a horse mad and a lot of built up anger, you will actually see that in the horse will bring that out in the way that the horse responds. Or if she's being open or vulnerable, the horse will join up, the horse will come, or the horse will run away, and there's different signs. We have horses, it's interesting. You can have a horse that about will bite somebody and just be very hostile, but then you come into the pen in a completely different attitude with a different presence, and you will get completely different results from that horse. And so horses are rather relational, and so that's something that we use to help the girls work through things. So a few pictures here. Like I said, they do riding, but they do a lot of groundwork. And so learning hand motions, looking, giving the horse direction. Once they have a relationship built, they're able to control that horse just with looks or hand motions. I think even here, she's looking at the hind end of the horse very intently. You can tell the horse is looking at her intent, ears forward, and just looking. And once that horse realizes that she's looking behind the horse will start to back up. And so just building those things. They'll do different activities here. Here they use a special paint and will actually paint on some of the horses. And this is a young lady. They were trying to help her work through her identity and in viewing herself, seeing herself as Christ saw her. And on one side of the horse, gave her space to just paint how she saw herself. I can't make quite all of it out. I know, like the one on the left there, one of the words there on the bottom, I believe, is dumb. I'm not sure what's on top, but just some of those things that she believed about herself. And then on the other side of the coin, so to speak, or the other side, trying to instill and bring, the beauty that God sees and how God values them, write those things on the other side. And so just different activities that if you did it on a piece of paper, it's a whole lot different when you're doing it on the side of a horse. And so this is a young lady who had a ankle injury of some type, and they stuck her in a rolling chair out of the office and is able to guide this horse and to work with this horse. And this horse was, if I had to take my guess, is probably being extra gentle and extra mindful because of the girl's injury, like picking up on that. And she was guided. They kind of had an obstacle course. You can see the crutches there on the ground. I think she was guiding the horse through the different items there on the ground. So that gives you a glimpse into equine and working with the horses. It's a big part of the program. Christian counseling. This is just stock photo I threw in there quick. But there's a Christian counselor that comes in, local, and she comes in and spends about an hour a week with each one of the girls. That they have an appointment with her and is able to work through things. And then the counselor also provides some at some of the parent seminars, and I'll break that down here just a little bit. But when the families come in and have some seminars together, or in times of crisis, when that's just the best way I know how to put it. In times of crisis, the counselor there is kind of a phone call away to help give guidance and to help, and can sometimes, again, just being that outside person, but somebody that they have, that they see at least an hour a week and have that connection. If a mentor that's there, a parent, so to speak, can't get through, kind of that counselor getting on the phone or actually showing up sometimes can really make a difference in being able to connect with them. So family events, I mentioned the parent seminars, but we have an annual Families Day, and we'll try to give the families just kind of a glimpse of the ranch. All the immediate families to the young ladies are invited and encouraged to come, and we definitely want all the parents there, or those with grandparents or whoever's acting, whoever the girl connects with on a parent level. And we'll have kind of usually it's about 4 stations set up where the families can interact, and we kind of have an equine station where they can interact, kind of like the girls would in an hour space in a week. And a lot of times we'll have a school station, a trip station. The families might be able to, just do a little activity of kind of what they do. And this is, we call it initiatives, which is like team building activities. And just working together and doing things. It's interesting. I actually led the initiatives this past one, and it's interesting. Even just blindfolding. Take away some of our inaction. Blindfolding a group and getting them to, even one of the things. Was taking a rope and putting it in a circle and getting them all to come around the circle, and then putting blindfolds on, and then turn that circle into a square, blindfolded. We have to talk. And I remember there's one thing that really stood out to me is, like, sometimes you would see somebody, they were dancing around and they were kind of mumbling to themselves. They knew it didn't feel right, because they're trying to figure out, are we in a square or not? So they're trying to make their corners, and if they were a little out of square, they would feel that, like they'd be feeling up and down the rope, but they had to speak up and sort that out with the others and be like, hey, this does not feel right. And tying that into our relationships. How many times in our relationships, whether it's church or whether it's with children or whether it's friends, you feel something's not right. There's a little, but do you actually speak up and talk about it? And in a healthy way. And so that just using those activities to bring some of those things out. Mother-daughter tea, where all the mothers come in and have one-on-one time with the girls. Father-daughter banquet. Those are always interesting. Different girls have. It's amazing to come in and see. Maybe when she first comes, won't really talk to dad or won't really talk to mom. Maybe that's a very strained relationship. And now you expect them to sit down and have tea together, or sit down and have dinner together, and then have a sharing time afterwards. And sometimes you can about see this invisible wall in between them. But a year later, to see, maybe she gives mom a hug at the end of the tea or something like that. It's amazing to see those relationships start to being built. Parent seminars, I mentioned, it gives the parents a space to connect. Everybody's story is unique and individual, but in a lot of ways, they're all in the same battle for the hearts and for the lives of their girls. They share a lot of the same concerns, and so giving them that space to connect, and then also gives us a chance to pass some training on, some teaching, just different home building things for a Christian home. And then occasional individual studies. Family work is something that we're always seeing the need for more family work, And and of course we're spread. The families are from all over, but even just if a staff person has a chance to commit to an hour a week to jump on a video call or something and do a book study with a family, or with parents or something like that, it's something that we've done and are doing and want to do more of. So the ranch is all about restoring relationships, giving people the tools they need to build healthy relationships, and then sending them on their way. We want to restore the girls back to their families. It's not a place to drop your girl at 16 till she's 18 and then she's on her own. That's not what the ranch is about. The ranch is about parents that are engaged and want to build those relationships, girls that helping them to build those relationships, and then sending them on their way to bloom and to blossom. So here's just some photos of the mother-daughter tea and the father-daughter banquet. This young lady there in the center with her dad is actually kind of local. They'd be from an hour away or so. She graduated sometime last year and then taught school this past school year. And then I was blessed to be at her wedding maybe about a month ago now. I'm not sure how long. And then her now husband, actually volunteers on our search and rescue team. And so not too long ago, I spent a day in the woods with him. And so it's just, I love making those connections. A lot of our girls are from far away. I know that in the past they've been as far away as Canada, or that staff and girls are from all over. And so if it's logistically workable and it's a family that we can try to serve and help, then we try to embrace it and jump in. So trips, we're not a wilderness, it's a ranch, it's not a wilderness camp, but if you've seen some of the pictures, if you could see a picture or two and think it's a wilderness camp. The girls go on trips, and it just gives, as I wrote down there, it brings unique opportunities for growth. There at the ranch, it's like we try to produce a home atmosphere there. It's comfortable. Everything you need is there. If it's not there, I'm probably around somewhere and I'll try to get it to you as fast as I can. Just the comforts of home. And you put 8 young ladies and 2 mentors out on a trip, on a canoeing trip, maybe even just a 2-day, they build up to it, okay? So they'll have like an overnight trip. Then they'll do like, a 2-day trip, a 3-day trip, a 5-day trip, 10-day trip. And so they'll pick usually one of these activities, whether they want to pursue equine trips with the horses, or hiking trips or canoeing trips or school trips. They'll go around, it's like a week's worth of field trip, really. Museums, different historical sites, and things like that, but it's a trip focused on school and what they've been learning in school. And so if you're on the side of the river and maybe you had a canoe tip or whatever and you're out of sorts, it gives unique opportunities for growth and for them to work together, to pull together, and to start and to build on working together as a team. Just as, the same way we want them to work together and pull together when they sit down for a problem circle because somebody's in a bad attitude or somebody is refusing to do something. It's the same relationship that we're trying to build, just on a different level. So just a few pictures here of some trips. Canoeing trip. They will come. Okay, I'm not in Missouri anymore, but there's a few there's a few rivers in Missouri that they will come up to, and there's a few in Oklahoma. But I do agree. Oklahoma does not quite have what places like Missouri or Tennessee or Arkansas, and so this is one of our groups here from a little bit ago. You can tell it's a very unique, very diverse bunch. We're talking about diverse, and so it's interesting to. You have these girls, they're all at different levels. Their families are asking different things. I don't think we have any Amish girls that are pictured here in this group, but you will have girls on one side, on the far conservative side, that are from an Amish setting, and their parents are asking them to wear a certain covering, a certain dress. And then you have on the other side, maybe a young lady, their parents are fine with her wearing pants. There's a couple in this group. And so them learning to work together and learn to, we try to instill in it, it's about respect. And even if they don't understand, respect enough to ask those questions in a respectful way and to respect what's being asked of them if it's not at the time for them to make those decisions, but to work through those things in a respectful way instead of just closing up and pushing away. And so this is a backpacking trip. They take packs out that, I mean, they go out for several days at a time, and so they're packing all their gear, food, and things. Equine trip, they'll go on equine trails. They've been on a horse, a covered wagon trip, and I think I have a couple more pictures of that. That, I'm not sure. That may have been a one and done thing. There was a lot of logistics in that we that needed brought together to make that happen. But the girls built the box. It was months long, a year-long project. And so we bought the running gear, like the wagon wheels and the frame. But then the girls built everything, about everything that's painted green. And Tony helped. That's a picture there of Tony praying before they left. But he helped the girls quite a bit and led out in the planning there. But they went out for 6 weeks. They spent 3 weeks in national grassland in Nebraska. Turned out to be very sandy there, and they were getting their wagon stuck, and actually ended up breaking one of their double trees. I'm Mr. Maintenance. If something breaks, they call me, and I get this message or phone call that the wagon got stuck, and our horses were a team. There's lessons to be learned there in teamwork, but the one horse was like off of pulling buggies, like a road horse. The other one was a farm horse. And so the farm horse would jump in and pull a little harder than the buggy horse, just naturally. And so anyway, when the wagon got stuck, that horse jumped in and pulled, and things got a little off balance and snapped a double tree. And I'm like, what's a double tree? And so anyways, Thad Thayer, actually the lead minister in our church, he has a sawmill and different things, and because you can't go to Lowe's and buy wagon parts. So and so anyway, just different logistical things there to work through. And I ended up building them a new DoubleTree, and then a local fellow took it up to them. But yeah, so that was, and when they're out in the wilderness, out in the grassland, again, the lessons that you can learn, it knits them in ways, it knits them together in ways that does not happen at the ranch. And so that's why we pursue these trips. I hauled their gear up and the horses up, and it felt a little weird and a little off to be dropping, I forget, 10 ladies or so, 10 girls off the group and their mentors, and then an equine person to take care of the horses. Just drop them off in national grassland, and then I'm headed 14 hours home and just leaving them out there. But it was good for them. It was a blessing, and I don't think they'll ever forget it. Here's another picture of them with their wagons. So we had gotten these 2 Percheron horses that worked together. So that gives you a glimpse into their trips. The facilities there, lots of history. So it's an old public school building. It's located in a small town just south of Perkins, Oklahoma, and it's not much of a town. The town now buses. I forget, it was in the late 80s, early 90s, they started busing all the children to a larger town for schools. So this building sat empty, and they purchased it in 15 or so and started remodeling it. And so it's interesting. Again, doing maintenance on this building, one time a drain was clogged, and I got down into the drain. I was trying to run a snake through it, and whatever case, ended up getting down into the elbow, down into the floor, and I pulled out these old Crayola branded, like, crown pen. It looked like pencils out of, I don't know, but it looked like something from a museum. or something, and I could just imagine, schoolboys running around on the roof dropping pencils or dropping things down the vent pipe, and here I'm pulling them out, I don't know how many years later. But it's interesting, the history of the place. We're doing about, they started out with 11 acres. Now they've been able to purchase some surrounding properties for staff housing and different things for riding the horses. There's about 150 acres there. The main part that the girls are in is kind of a two-part. There's the main building that has their apartments and where they, there's a gym there. There's space there for 3 groups and school and all that's in the main building. And then this dining hall is the picture on the bottom to the right, is the dining hall there. And there's a horse barn. I think I have a picture or two coming up on that, and a covered riding arena. And then upcoming projects we're working at, and my wife has set up a table in the back, because on your way out there might be a paper there detailing kind of our next large renovation project is the gym. It's kind of the last portion of the building that's never been totally remodeled to where we can use it to its full potential. And so this porch that we just poured, we have it was actually an Amish group that came down from PA, and I got to work with them for a week or just over a week. Had a lot of fun. It's interesting. I have never had much experience with Amish until I started working here, and then these Amish work groups, older in 20, from 20 to 30, and to build, just work with guys and gals. They'll bring down a mixed group. I actually drove them once. I flew up there and drove them down because I found out what they were going to spend to hire a driver and the whole works. And I was like, hey, buy me a plane ticket and I'll do it. So I've gotten to interact with them on different levels. But anyway, one of those fellows let out and pouring this porch, and we worked on, I think, 27 projects that week with about 10 or 12 people or so. And so it was high energy. Usually me, myself, and I there working on a project, and so when I get to work with 12 Amish, it's a party. A picture of the riding arena here, and the horse barn. There's 8 or 9 stalls in there, kind of set up for horses, and that's just another picture of the arena there on the bottom. So just give you a glimpse into some of the facilities there. So just in different ways to partner with us. One of the biggest, and this congregation has a connection there, like was mentioned, and prayer. That's a huge thing for us. And so it's, yes, there's the, right underneath prayers, donations, but I do not want to minimize or hop over prayer. And so that is something that, it's a lot of times there, and especially when you're right in the work, right in, with the girls, and it can feel like a daily battle. It's a battle that we're all facing the same adversary, the same enemy. But just remembering the girls, that their eyes could be unclouded, and that they could lay down some of the things that's been hindering them, and that they've been bound by or chained, whether it's thoughts or beliefs or whatever, and that there could be healing in their hearts and just wisdom for staff. And so donations, our heart is to help people that can't pay to run a facility like this. That is where some of the biggest needs are, it feels like. Tony fields a lot of the calls, and he just got a call that the father's in prison for acts that happened with an older daughter, and now there's a younger daughter, and the mom is reaching out and looking for help, and so you get a phone call like that, the family can't pay. Single mom, and so but those are the people that we have a desire, that the board has a desire to reach out to, and so we in no ways want to turn people away because of a lack of finances, and so that means we're looking for donations to run the place and to keep it, and so large donations are great. smaller monthly donations, we found to almost be more stable, and so we welcome both. And so there'll be cards out on the table. There's a donation box out there. You can reach out to me, or any way that you'd like to help, any way you'd like to help. Some churches or different groups will sponsor a girl, and so we've had a number where a church just gets behind a certain girl and sponsors her. That's always a blessing. And what has also come along with that is when the church can also sponsor some of the mentorship and some of that family work, and just kind of really, help pour into that family and build that family. And that's always beautiful and such a blessing. Volunteer work groups, I mentioned some of the Amish groups I've worked with other youth groups and stuff in some of our projects. From 2 couples that want to strike out and do something to 15 youth, or whatever. If you have interest, feel free to reach out and join our on-site team. The team actually working there, current staff opportunities. The thing I'd probably emphasize the most is the mentors. Girls that, young ladies that are 21 years old and older, to come in and be a mom in a lot of sense. I know it seems basic, or it's maybe a bad analogy, but to be a mom to the girls there and to help them on a daily fight. You're on 5 days, and it's at night, you sleep with them, you eat with them. It's like being a mom. So equine team, especially towards the end of the year, we'll be needing somebody for the equine team, and to work with the horses and to work with the girls and the horses. And then we also kind of have our sights set for a family worker, maybe an older couple that has raised teens and had life experience, and be able to devote more time and devote directly into our families and blessing them and serving them. So I ran over some of these staff requirements. Definitely the vibrant relationship with Jesus. That we need staff that their heart can be, that verse 30 there, I and my Father are one, is what it takes, because it is intense, especially when you're working with our resident girls and fighting battles with them and walking alongside them. It is intense. And so having that relationship, being grounded yourself, and that's a necessity. Sense of calling to help, having that calling, teachable, being able to work through things when you think you have all the. We talked about that in Sunday school this morning. But when you think you have all the answers, just being teachable definitely helps. You do have to be 21 or older, and we do ask for a 2-year commitment for all the positions, especially like mentors and different ones that you're working with the girls, just because of the relationship level. To really, it takes time to build those relationships, and so to come in for 6 months or something and then up and leave, it just kind of pulls that bandage and pulls that scab off that wound, so to speak, in those relationships. And so kind of the process, just so you're aware, you can, if you know somebody with interest, or if you have interest, you can reach out to me, and I can be that link for you and get you an application. As everything checks out and you learn more about it, we learn more about you. If it seems like a good fit, we would invite you and somebody, a parent, or somebody in your life, a mentor, somebody that helps you make decisions, to come on site, spend a day there, go around to the equine, to school, to whatever's happening that day, and just get a clearer picture of it. Same thing happens with the resident girls. From the application it's for a different reason, but it's the same process. From the application, then spending the day there, and just reviewing everything. And then at the end of that, then we usually come together as staff, or all put our thoughts together and be like, hey, this is something we all feel comfortable about this person joining the team, or about this girl coming into the program. We really want to serve her, or feel like we see something there that we want to we want to pursue and pursue in serving that family or that girl, and then it's kind of the ball's in your court. Then if we see it as a fit, then it's up to you. So it's a mutual discerning process, we call it, between just trying to learn. So yeah, if you have any interest at all, or know people that would be interested there in the on-site team, feel free to let me know. There's should be a contact list out there if you are interested in receiving our newsletters. We send out quarterly or with the seasons newsletters, and so if you give me your email address, I won't send you too much junk mail. I don't think it'll even be one thing a month. It might be 6 emails a year or so, and so if you're interested in keeping up, and so yeah, is it okay if I take questions now, or is there a better time for that? Or I'll open it up here just briefly. If there's anybody that has a question, I'll be around a little bit. I'll try to be in the back afterwards too if you have something.
How many residents still can the ranch handle?
So we have the facility has the capacity for 3 groups. There's 3 apartments there in the main building. We call them apartments, kind of home to the girls. And so at 8 girls, you're at 24 there. And so we actually right now just have 1 group operating, partly because of it takes 2 mentors per group, and so we're limited there. And so that's why I said I think where we feel the biggest pinch right now on staff is mentors. We plan to open a second group here very shortly, this fall or sometime in the next few months. So the need is, sometimes we can feel pinched on the help and the staff and all, but the phone calls always come in from all over, from people inside the church, outside the church, and just there's definitely a need there that we feel called to serve and want to do all that we can. So. Okay, well, if there's nothing else at this point, feel free to check out the table in the back, tap me on the shoulder if you have a question or need anything. And thank you so much for your attention and allowing us to come, and I felt a very warm welcome here, and have been blessed to be here. So thank you.